Hi, I'm Georgie with PLC Culture. Hi, Dan. Hi, Benji.
How's it going, Georgie? My
Good.
my abuela is a Rodriguez, so I feel close to you already.
Yeah, any day I get to meet Latinos in Hollywood, it's a great day. There's so much I want to ask you about this show, but as a quick question, I have to know, like, if you could have a Lego set of any of the mashups that you created for this show, what would you want on that desk behind
Oh,
you?
that's a hard question.
I mean, from this latest set of episodes, I think the BB wing is one that we really enjoyed, both creating and then animating. What else?
The BB wing is probably the one that I would pick, but if we can do the whole set of episodes, I love Greedo's ship from the first series, the
Mm.
Greedo Boba Fett Starfighter mashup is pretty awesome in the green color scheme with the ears. It's pretty rad. So I probably the BB wing or Greedo ship would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure one of the AFOLs out there can make that happen.
I have no
Um,
doubt. Oh, the Porgles, the Porgles, the
yeah,
Porgles. Yeah, actually,
That'd
that
be a
would be
fun one.
my favorite. I got a
yes,
photograph.
Porgles would be terrific, and I hope somebody actually does do that. That would be great.
Yeah, one thing I love about this show, how is with Sig, you created a character that I feel mirrors your journey as someone who is a fan of Star Wars is in his own life and then gets to become part of Star Wars,
Yeah.
and how you guys now have this show with so many deep cuts. And Dan, I believe that when you were in like the fourth grade, you actually got in trouble for reading a lot of Star Wars books. So I'm wondering,
Yes.
what is something that that fourth grade version of you would want to see in a show like this?
I think that is kind of the question that I ask myself every time I sit down to write, and I think that that's where things like Jackson coming back for the first time in uh, Star Wars media. That's a character that actually predates The Empire Strikes Back from the Marvel comics in the late 70s. I have that first issue of Jackson. I've read it 10,000 times. I'm a big comic collector. So I would think to myself, I've said before, I can't ride a bike. I can't roller skate. I, I have attempted to ice skate. It didn't go well. But what I did do when I was little was I would study the Star Wars encyclopedia.
Mhm.
I would study the star charts. I would study the the weather, patterns of Dagobah and try to learn about the flora and the fauna. And so for fourth grade Dan, I feel like that the work that kid did, he didn't know it in fourth grade, but that's been the journey of my life, the journey of my career, the journey of my own, hopefully coming into to bloom as a writer and as a creator. It all began with a genuine enthusiasm for this galaxy far, far away. And I can't really put into words how much that means to me, but it means everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I know that you guys have been a writing duo since college, which is incredible. I'm curious how the writing process has evolved from season one to season two in terms of new themes you want to explore or any adjustments to continue to tread new ground for the franchise. Benji, you want to
Yeah,
start?
I mean, whenever you sort of approach a sequel, like you have to think of, you know, one, like how are we going to make this bigger or different or uh surprise people in new way. Like you can't just do the same thing again. And so we were really pushing ourselves to take things further, see weirder corners of both the Star Wars and the Lego universes, uh and it was also just important to us to find that philosophical thing that we were trying to tell with this one, whereas the first one was about, these it was a story of these two brothers that were essentially fighting over how to play with your Lego. One wanted to build, the other wanted to break. Jedi versus Sith. And now we're introducing a new threat that's bigger and a little bit different for the Star Wars universe of someone being like, what you're doing is juvenile and there might be something beyond that of just stop and get rid of all this stuff. And that came from, an interesting take on Jedi and Sith and thinking about it like that. but also on the Lego side of things, I'm a big Lego fan, and in the Lego community, people refer to like their dark ages, which is like the period of time when like you're a teenager and someone's like, Lego's not cool, you shouldn't do that, and so you stop. And then sometime as an adult, you suddenly are like, wait, that was cool. I want to do that again. And so like that gap in between is the dark ages, and it's usually an external factor that is making you feel like what you're doing is juvenile. And so we wanted to play with that too. And yeah, so it was having new things we wanted to say, but at the same time in the writing process, we now knew these characters well enough. Like, in the first series, like we're still figuring out who Sig is at the beginning, and Dev, and these character dynamics. But with the season two,
You can just
you can jump right in.
you're up and running right
Yeah.
away, so it gives you a little bit more room to try some different things.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much, and
Hey, really
congratulations
great
on the
questions,
show.
Georgie. Some of the best we've had all day, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, my name is Georgie with PLCculture.com. Tony, so good to see you again. I got to interview you a couple years ago. And Gaten, you actually did a talk at my school recently. I go to UC Irvine, so it's so cool for me to
Cool.
get to talk to both of you.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, it's good to
one
see
thing
you. I had a blast over there.
yeah, it's so good to see you guys. One thing I love about this show is, Sig starts the story back in season one as a fan of Star Wars who gets to then participate in it. And so I was wondering for you guys, as people who grew up being fans of Star Wars, I assume we're all big Star Wars fans here.
Yes.
What has
Yes.
that been like for you to mirror that journey and be part of the galaxy far, far away?
It is and always been an honor. And also what's so fun about Sig specifically is that he is the ultimate big Star Wars nerd. And we've never actually it's such a meta show. We've never really been able to explore somebody within the universe who is a fan of the lore. And it's such a funny perspective because I guess since he's in the Star Wars universe, it makes Sig like a history buff. And that's
Right.
such a funny perspective that I love to explore because I myself not only am a huge Star Wars nerd, but also a history buff. And anytime I get into little tangents that I get excited about, uh, ancient history and world history, people are like, please stop. This is not fun for anybody else except for you. And that's funny to see happen in the show as well. I'm like, I've been there, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Tony?
For me, it's just really cool, man. I grew up watching all of this stuff as we all did, and being able to be any part connected to it is beautiful, especially when it's on all these like jokes. Because I am like when I say a fan, I'm not just a fan of like watching the movies. I'll read some Reddits, I'll do some stuff. So the fact that they brought in like a Darth Jar Jar or something like that just shows me that the people creating the show, Dan and Benji, were fans too. And being a part of that just made it so much more fun. Just because
Yeah.
we could like be a little bit more carefree with it.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you about voice acting, but since you brought that up, I'm curious about deep cuts. What is your favorite deep cut that made it in, or if there's one that you really want to happen that hadn't, who would it be?
Ooh, um, Darth Jar Jar is probably my favorite. I know it's like a very popular one, but that was great. That I really, really liked. One that, oh God, one that it's in there that didn't make or that I would like in. I don't know. Do you have one, Caden?
I think, oh man, for some reason, I really wanted to see like a horde of younglings. I wanted to see like the horde of younglings from the council room in Revenge of the Sith like have ultimate revenge. And because they were Jedi younglings, like what if they were like a horde of youngling Siths, like
You're onto
with
something.
lightsabers and like 30 of them? Because yeah, one on one you'll be fine. It's almost like a coyote, you can take one on one. It's like a small dog, but when there's 40 of them, it's like, what am I
Yeah, yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
right now? And I kind of want to see a horde of like, and like the old Legos, like when it's like kids, they had like the stubby little like legs instead of like the ones that bent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
It's
would like them where like they waddle. I want to see like a like where they just like shuffle to waddle. This would have been great to see. Who knows if we maybe we'll see it later.
I imagined a lot of answers, but that was not one of them.
Okay,
I love
great.
that. Um, And I want to ask you both about like, as an actor, everyone talks about the walk as an entry point to the character and like who this person is. But I'm curious for you guys, people who have done live action and voice work, how do you get the voice for your characters, and how did you find the voice, and what was it like to return to that voice for season two?
I'd like to say that there was a deep, crazy process going into finding his voice, but when I read the script, I was like, this is so much like me. And I think the way that I sound and react to reading the script, I think service is the part better than any weird choice I could have made. So it really is just me, which is lazy because the other voice work that I've done is also just me. I want to get into like I would love to do a project soon where I do take some dear time to find something really special and cool, whether it be accent work or working with a coach or something like that. But I've been lucky enough to where the parts I am playing really do reflect me, and I think my sound services it quite well. Which I know to long time like career length voice actors can be very frustrating when they hear other actors just using their own voice when they spend a whole lot of time working tirelessly to create a whole repertoire. So maybe soon I can expand more, but certainly not as nuanced, I think, as I would have, as I could have necessarily been. But I think that would in itself would have been distracting if I tried something weird.
Sure, fair enough.
Um,
Alrighty. Oh,
But I
sorry.
wonder if Tony gets a shout there. Sorry, buddy.
No, no, not at all. I mean, for me, it was more so a thing of like figuring out good dev versus dark dev.
Mm.
Good dev was kind of just me, but maybe like pitched up just a little bit, a little happy-go-lucky and a little bit more animated. And then Darth Dev was like very angry, and I think I wanted to do. I pitched a couple of voices. I definitely pitched him to have a Spanish accent, but they said something about Gaten not being able to do it, so it ended.
No, that'd be better. Like, so Tony has a caveat.
Yeah, Tony has a cat
Tony needs you to do.
to do a Spanish accent.
I'm like, okay.
Uh, but
Ah.
But in the end, it's like a version of me just with a little bit more rasp and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I grew up on Lego Star Wars, so I love the series. It's really
Same.
funny. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.